Well, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I want to welcome you to today's edition of Good Grief with my two beautiful friends that lead us on this good journey of grief, Crazy Berrytown and Kim Possible 711. Good afternoon to you, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
It is just marvelous to have. Did we miss a week? It seems like we haven't been here in 50 years.
Not 50 years. Wait a minute.
I think we were
we
on
were
last
here.
week.
We were here last week.
Yeah, we were here.
Okay. That,
Yeah,
that shows
we were
you
here
my
last
brain.
week, and then we were here the week before. But you were on the road listening in.
Okay. Man, it seems like forever. It seems like forever. Well,
I
tell me
know.
how you ladies are doing.
Kim.
Let it all hang out.
I'm all right, child. I'm doing all right. I'm pressing my way through.
Come on.
I'm
Yeah.
pressing my way through. So today is a good day, despite
Yes.
anything. Today
Yes.
is a good day.
Yeah. Same here. Just pressing my way. That's the word of the day. Pressing my way.
Yes, Rebel. Pressing my
yeah.
way, honey. Pressing my way.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it's been a busy week. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's been busy for everybody. Maybe that's why it feels like we've been away for 50 years, because it's just been a lot going on, like every day.
Mhm.
Something going on, and I think everybody's busy. We're kind of getting, as I've mentioned before, at least for me, but I know I've heard others say so too. We're getting into a busier season with holidays and whatever. So yeah. I'm tired though. I'm very tired. I was in bed. For me to say that I was in bed and sleep before 10 o'clock,
Wow.
that you might as well said I went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Like that never happens. And I was almost begging. I was like, look, everybody, I'm going to bed. I don't govern yourselves accordingly. I'm out. Like I can't function anymore. I don't even have words to say. I'm going to sleep. And had the nerve to be mad when I woke up when my alarm went off this morning. I was like, what? I need more sleep. What's going on?
Oh, you were exhausted.
Yeah, you were.
I was. Yeah, I was. And then Saturday, so it's homecoming weekend for me, Emory homecoming. So I stayed at the hotel with my girls. And they have those nice curtains that darken the room or whatever. And I didn't wake up Sunday till 10:30. And I woke up like it was like 7. I was like, all right, but it was 10:30. We all thought it was like 7 or 8 in the morning. And it was,
Yeah, I saw some of the highlights on social media.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Toast and all. So yeah. Looks
Yeah,
like
it was nice. It was really nice. We had a good time. It was a nice I hadn't really been out much like that. And then and Emory too. This is the first year where there was a big, like the full rollout. Last year was less stuff, still a lot of COVID restrictions and COVID, concerns. It still is, but not the restrictions so much. So this year was more people. My girls came in town. They didn't come in town last year. And they came back this year. So it was a nice time to be away and just kind of be busy, but for fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Welcome in, Rebel. What's going on, twin? Good to see you. Good afternoon. Truck driver, Jennifer.
Only one Mrs. Cox. I always get all that mixed up. Hey, Monica.
Yeah, Jennifer. Jennifer said I should maybe take advantage of the space. May I share where I am in terms of grief, life, what's happened, what's upcoming, or should I wait for a prompt? No,
girl. Share away.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a good segue into what we chat about today. We just kind of wing it most days anyway, and just see where everybody's head is and heart, and right. So just please share. We'd love to see how you're doing and how you're going and where you are in your journey. And as always, I'm sure it will be a blessing to us and to those in the chat. So please share. Hey, only one Mrs. Cox. So Jennifer said, my grandma still hasn't passed and I'm having trouble taking the time to drive. Well, that's a long time, 3.5 hours home to visit her. She's supposed to attend my cousin's wedding. Oh, her first grandchild. Wow. Okay. Yeah. we were talking about, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, anticipatory grief.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine, especially for someone so close, how just those feelings are, and just, trying to live every day and do your life. And then you have that sort of off to the side that's hovering over.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing, Jennifer said, and my mom doesn't know if she will be able to go to my cousin's wedding. But I think that if she wants to go, we should bring her. And if something happens, it does. But I don't want to leave her at home simply because she's so close. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because if she's going to be close and she wants to attend, I mean, I kind of get it. You want to honor that, so Jennifer, I know there's a lot of decisions to make, and it's heavy, right, y'all? It's just
Yeah.
you don't want to make the wrong decision, but at the same time, your heart says do this. But what if something happens? But what if we leave her and something happens? Ugh.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is a tough thing.
Yeah. Let's see. So everybody check in. Let us know how you're doing. Rebel, how you feeling? All that carrying on, and dancing and whatnot. Did y'all see that?
I did. Somebody, I think D-Man was asking, did somebody clip that? So by the time I saw it, it was over. So we hope somebody clipped it, but we know that she has the footage, so it may end up on Instagram within.
Oh, you know.
Oh yeah,
it may end up on Instagram.
Right.
So we have it.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, A.M. Harvey. Welcome.
Let's see. She said it just might, which means it will. Yay! Jennifer, continuing about your dad, right? Your dad was diagnosed with cancer in January 2022. He went through radiation, is now in remission. However, someone my mom grew up with, so similar in age, got diagnosed with the same cancer in 2019. He has been in remission a few times, and he passed last weekend. And that has your dad kind of unsettled. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can imagine that as well. But praise God that he is in remission now. Mm-hmm. And we're thankful for that. And, I feel like something like that is, kind of one day at a time, just take one day at a time, be thankful that he's in remission. I hope he's physically okay. Mm-hmm. And, everybody has their own journey. And the thing with any kind of illness, whether it's cancer or I don't know, some other illness, everybody has a different journey, and it's their own path. So prayers to your family regarding your grandmother and your dad, and prayers for him to have peace and thoughts that his journey is his own. And hopefully he will continue to be fine for years to come. My dad kind of struggled with that a little bit when he was diagnosed with leukemia. Someone from his job had, it wasn't leukemia, but it was cancer. And they had, given them a prognosis. And then my dad was diagnosed and they gave him a prognosis. And the person at his job didn't make it halfway, I guess. And that's where he was kind of freaking out. And so they told my dad, considering some other underlying issues, he had like 18 months. And he really kind of freaked out about it for a little while, as expected. And then every day he literally took one day at a time, and he, changed a few things, and he lived for 4 years. So, the prognosis in his mind, he was like, I might be like my coworker and only make it halfway, which would have been 9 months, but he lived, double or plus that time. And I think it's, it's a testament to, again, how everybody's journey is their own. Mm-hmm. And your whatever path is for you is for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, none of us know the day nor the hour. We can do everything right. We can be dealing with one situation and there be something else. So the important thing is to just love the people that you have while they're here.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have something to say it. If you have, if you need to see them. If you want to hug them. Because we just never know.
Yeah.
I like that we're having conversation as far as Jennifer and her dad talking about it. I think when you talk about different types of diseases and or anticipatory demise, which definitely we're not speaking that here, but just the idea of conversation. I know with my dad, he, after over 10 years of illness, you could tell he was getting tired. And so I think everybody wants to keep pushing and having that positive conversation. And one day I just really got the sense that he wanted to talk, but he was a stroke patient, so he didn't have verbal ability. So I just asked him one day, I said, "Are you getting tired?" And he could say yes and no. He said, "Yes," And so I just kind of carried on conversation with him and asked him how he was feeling about everything. And I could tell the look on his face was kind of pensive. Of course, he couldn't communicate, but I was just touching on different things. Do you want this, or do you want that, or the other? And then finally, of course, the very last thing I said to him, "Are you ready to go home, be with the Lord?" He said, "Yes," and it seemed like it was such a relief for him. And I thought, how long has he been sitting here wanting to have this conversation, but unable to have it? So to me, again, that was different for him because he was tired. He had been like that for over 10 years and was continuously, going through changes. But I think that a lot of times we talk about communicating and having conversations after a person's demise. But I think sometimes we also need to consider, being very, very sensitive, but consider sometimes we may need to go ahead and have conversations with people while they are going through, even if it's not a matter of we think you're going to transition in whatever. But I like the idea that Jennifer and her dad are having conversation. And I think sometimes that's a missing piece.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a beautiful thing. They're having that conversation and that open communication. And Jennifer mentioned that she's not sure why it's so hard to drive home to, I think it was to see them. I think that's what it was. And then she also mentioned how, they are getting up. This has brought them a little bit closer. And you're right, that communication is doing that, but yeah, I think, about driving to see them, I think some of it is what am I trying to say? Not things aren't the way that maybe they were. Maybe there's the fear of things being different, and maybe them not maybe looking or feeling the same as what you remember maybe growing up, or maybe even just a few years ago. And that'd be tough on the psyche, knowing that when you go make that drive and you go there, things will be different. And sometimes that's very hard for people, and completely understandable also, right? So, yeah, thank you for sharing, Jennifer. We appreciate that. Truck driver said he had the same conversation with his mother and father and got the same answer as spiritual thought leader did. Yeah, sometimes that conversation is necessary, and it's necessary for you, like for your comfort in a way, like when STL, when you said, when you asked your father, do you want to be with the Lord? And he said, yeah. When you hear that confirmation, and whenever that time comes, you feel, satisfied is the wrong choice of words, but you feel peace.
Oh, yeah,
because you know that's what they wanted. And you said that emphatic yes,
Yes. Yes.
It means a lot, and but you can't get it if you're not communicating. Yes. So I think that's really important. I'm glad Jennifer talked about how she talks to her dad, because that's a piece that you're right, that's missing a lot of times, is the conversations now, right? Yeah.
So Jennifer was asking relief because they're not in pain. I think with my dad, I would say it was just knowing that he was at peace. It gave us peace. And then this was the interesting thing. It was myself, I have two sisters, and my mom. And when we actually had conversation, each one of us, my mother being the very last one who had the conversation with him the day before he passed, each one of us had respectively had that conversation with him. and everybody not knowing that the other one had that conversation. It was just so crazy. And then he passed. His sister passed away 3 days before he did, and I was doing. We were doing her funeral when he passed, and I felt like even that was like my mom was always there. I mean, almost 24/7. It was almost like he waited until she wasn't there and then slipped away. It was just so interesting how that went down. But we all had that conversation and my mother even said the day before she had that conversation with him, it was almost like he kind of needed us to release him, if that makes sense. That's what it felt like. We all talked about it. It's like he needed for us to release him so that he could go. And then at that point, we all had peace,
Yeah. A similar thing happened with my grandmother. She had been in the hospital roughly 80 some odd days. And my mom has 2 brothers, and one of them was kind of missing, for lack of a better term. And when they finally got in touch with him and he came to the hospital, she asked for everybody else to leave and for them to have a private conversation. And as soon as he walked out of the room, within 2 minutes, she was gone. And so she really did want to, I believe, and he never shared with us what the 2 of them talked about, but she needed to say whatever she needed to say. I guess she wanted to give him a chance to say whatever he needed to say. And after that, she was at peace and she was ready to go. She had been saying for weeks that she was ready to go.
Yeah.
But she kept asking, where is he? And so we had to locate him to find, where he was and get him to actually come to the hospital to see her. So, people do have some unfinished things they need to say. I mean, and, they can delay seemingly their passing until, they feel like, I've heard countless stories of people waiting until folks left and then they pass when nobody's there because they didn't want that to be, their family member to be there when they passed on. So
I've heard that too. Yeah. I think my dad he did the same thing. We called it, he did he couldn't do a tour for real. So he did a calling tour and he called all of us and talked to us, like to me and, my other siblings that he had with his other, previous wives before my mom. And so it's a few of us. And then, so he called us and then and if we were married, he talked to Tim and, told him to take care of me and all of that. And I think it was, the next day, I think he was gone. And we kind of expected it, at least, and for us, the relief came from, he was just miserable. He had leukemia. When you have leukemia, you bleed a lot from your gums, and lots of nosebleeds. And he had lost a ton of weight. He was very frail. And he was literally, I mean, he said it, I'm miserable, y'all. I've got to go. And my dad was a little bit of a comedian, and even in his, pain, being in pain, that kind of thing, he was just like, I'm done. I quit. I'm out of here. Like, that's how he said, I'm done. I'm out. I'm finished. I can't take it. And, we all laughed, of course, because we knew he was trying to be funny, but he meant it though. He's like, I'm tired. And that's what he said. I'm tired of bleeding. He's like, we have run out of sheets. We've washed, we're done. Okay. And the relief came for us in that that's what he wanted. And we hated, of course, to see him that way as well. Although how he looked didn't matter, but we couldn't look at him and tell he was, towards the end, he was in a lot of pain. And he was just uncomfortable. And at that point, he felt like there wasn't a way to come back. So he was like, the doctors say we could do this. It's just prolonging this, right? And, my stepmom, who, you guys know, I love her dearly. She even said, she said, I just hated to see him that way. And she felt like all the times he had kind of come back and rallied, that he was probably far gone. And so the relief for her was, he's not in pain. He kind of went out on own terms. He called us all and he didn't necessarily say goodbye. He just said, I'm just checking in with you guys. And, that was it though. And I think that was where our relief came from, and that we knew he went out on his own terms, and that he was not in pain and
Yes.
just uncomfortable. He was just with his gums bleeding in his nose. He's like all of this. It was just sore. He was just sore, all and raw, and he was just tired.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's for us the relief. Yeah. Joanna G, hey there. Monica L. Smith, what's going on? Happy to see you all here this afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Jennifer, yeah, you said it sounds like you're great, because you said that she's been on morphine for years. It seems like, to just stay alive. I did see that back in the chat, and that's hard to see people like that. It's hard, again, especially when you know them prior to this illness. One of the things that killed me with my grandmother, she had Alzheimer's, and I was young. I was in maybe middle school, and I couldn't figure out how she didn't know me. I'm like, but you know me, like, it's me. Right? And as a kid, I'm like, it's me. Tracy, you're your only granddaughter, right? And to see, and it was very quick to see that change. This woman that used to literally flip pancakes up, almost, actually one time she did hit the ceiling. My grandfather went crazy. But this woman that would flip pancakes up, to not knowing me, devastated. I was devastated. So to and then now as an adult, I've seen people, again, be in a different state, a different, physical way. And it's very hard because you knew them before that. The strong, the funny, the pancake flipping, the know my name, right? And that is difficult. It's really, really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing that I think, honestly, me and my mother fear the most, because my dad has Alzheimer's, and he forgets everything, but he does remember us. Every day he'll ask my mother, have you talked to Kim yet? Has you talked to her yet? And, she'll say yes or no. And whenever he goes to doctor's appointments, he'll always ask, they'll ask the date, what year is it? Who is this lady? Do you have any children? Yes. What do you have? Like, I have a daughter. Okay, what's her name? And he will always remember those things. And so I don't know how I'm going to feel when that day comes. And he doesn't. So that, and part of that anticipatory grief part is, my dad is still with us. And I have a clergy sister whose mom lived with Alzheimer's for 10 years. And probably 5 years before she passed away, she did not know her own daughter. And how hard that was for her, going to visit and trying to, remind her. And sometimes she kind of remember, and other times she didn't have a clue. And just how difficult that is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As our minds, we can't imagine, right? We're like, I'm your child, I'm your like we in our just layperson's minds, we can't imagine that. Like, how could that be, so trying to figure that out, plus the hurt is very overwhelming. Yeah. Monica L. Smith said her grandmother had Alzheimer's, and also she got mad at me because I laid her clothes out and she put her panties on over her pants. But it was definitely my fault, she said. Yeah. They can be, they get turned around, and, it's somebody else's fault, yeah. When Mrs. Cox's dad is having early symptoms, early signs rather, of dementia, and it's overwhelming at times. Yeah. And then finally, Jennifer, my grandma has dementia, which I'm glad it's not Alzheimer's, but it's still pretty bad. My grandpa had Alzheimer's though. Yeah. So Jennifer, it sounds like, you've experienced or are experiencing, some challenges, with your loved ones. And I know that is heavy on your heart. And so we're glad that you're here to share, and, opening up helps others as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with how you feel. The fear, even the, just sometimes the sadness, all of that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And we appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Jennifer, like my mom said, the doctor talked with my grandma and her about going to hospice. Yeah, I think you mentioned that before.
Mhm.
And my grandma supposedly understood. And the next day, my mom brought up hospice, and my grandma said, "What's that?" But my grandma's last job was a hospice nurse. Interesting.
Mm.
Um, yeah. I do know. Yeah, the dementia and Alzheimer's, how they differ. Yeah, big differences there. A lot of times people collapse them together, but they are
Mhm.
different.
Yeah. And for
Um,
a long time, we thought that my dad had dementia, and I had
mhm.
been saying that since 2017. And then my mother said the doctor said no, the diagnosis is Alzheimer's. I'm like, okay, well, when was that? Well, a little while
Mm,
ago. But I'm like, well, okay. So now I had to like understand what the differences were and
yeah,
how, that's going to impact. And of course, it always it's going to get worse. So, we're
right.
just grateful for every day. And I always kid, but this is how I stay sane is my dad is living his best life because he truly is in the moment. He is not worried about
That's a good
anything.
point.
He's not trying to figure anything out. He's not stressed about anything. He's just going
Mhm.
about his life in the moment, literally in the moment. So
Yeah,
that is how I take comfort in that.
yeah. That's a. I never thought about it like that. He's in
Mhm,
the moment, and
mhm,
because of that, he is living his best life, right?
mhm,
I mean, he's not,
mhm.
all over the place and thinking about this and that. He's right here,
Only thing he is clear about is when he is hungry and when he wants food.
right, right.
And his standard term is when we get ready to go do anything like after breakfast, because he always eats breakfast. And then he'll say, it was like, Daddy, you hungry? I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast. Yeah, I'm hungry.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
we'll,
Why are
we'll,
you
we'll go
asking me
get
that?
something. And sometimes he's clear about what he wants, and other times he's like, order me whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And I think in those moments, he may not even remember what something is because he's starting to kind of forget where things are in the house. Like, where's the
Mm,
bathroom? Where's the
mm,
bedroom? And he will ask, like, okay, where's the bathroom?
hmm.
And so that's new. That's within the
Yeah,
last couple of weeks.
yeah.
Oh, good. Yes.
Oh, STL.
Mhm,
Let me see. Give me 1 second, y'all. I gotta plug up my computer. I forgot to plug it up, but
mhm.
please share.
Yeah, can you read it? Because I mean,
I know. I'm sorry. So, general definition: dementia, a brain related disorder caused by diseases and other conditions,
mhm,
versus Alzheimer's, a type of dementia, but the most common type. The cause for dementia, many including Alzheimer's disease, stroke, thyroid issues, vitamin deficiency, reaction to medications, and brain tumors.
mhm,
While Alzheimer's is unknown what the cause is, but
mhm,
the amyloid cascade hypothesis is the most widely discussed and researched hypothesis today. Duration, dementia, permanent damage that comes in stages, while Alzheimer's 8 to 20 years is the average. Typical onset for dementia is 65. Typical onset of Alzheimer's is 65 years, but can occur as early as 30. The symptoms: issues with memory, focus and attention, visual perception, reasoning, judgment, and comprehension, while Alzheimer's deals with difficulty remembering newly learned information. With advancement, disorientation, mood, and behavior changes may occur.
mhm. Yep. Because the blessing is too, my dad is not mean or anything. My mother has one of her best girlfriends from high school. Her husband, actually, she had to put him in a home because his behavior was horrible to her.
Mm,
Um, he was becoming abusive towards her,
mhm.
and she just could not handle it. Her kids were grown. They did not live in town, so it was just her and him. He was going to like the adult daycare during the day,
Yes.
and he got put out because of his temper.
Mhm.
And I think she had him home for maybe another 2 months. And just before the pandemic, like January of
Yes.
2020, had him put into a facility, and then she wasn't able to go visit him. So
Wow.
that created a bigger situation because she couldn't go see him because he was actually at a facility here in Atlanta where one of the initial breakouts of COVID was. So it made the news, it was shut down, family members couldn't go see their family, people within the facility passed away. It was a mess.
Wow.
And when she finally did get to go see him, he barely remembered her.
Mhm.
So it's been real, real difficult for her and the daughters around that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's exactly it. Because my dad can remember poems that he learned in 7th grade,
Mhm.
but he doesn't remember what we just talked about 12 minutes ago.
Yes.
So that's exactly right.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, when we moved my grandmother to Connecticut from Roanoke, Virginia, um, same thing. Like she, current things, like immediate things she couldn't remember. And one day we were cleaning up the dishes, and luckily where our kitchen was, the front door was not far. And she had on her sweater and had her little hat on that she wore all the time, and she was going to turn off her neighbor's light that she used to do in Roanoke all the time. So she was out the door and real cantankerous about it too. Like, why are you stopping me? Like, this is what I do every night. And she had a neighbor on the same street. She was just 2 houses down, and she would go and kind of tuck her in, so to speak, make sure she was okay, and then turn off her front light, and then lock the door behind her, and then go back home. And so in her mind, she's still in Roanoke, and she was going to do that.
Mm.
And so we had to like keep close watch because she would just, right. It was always after dinner. And so we always make sure, after dinner, we put the dishes, to clear the table and washing dishes and putting food away. We keep an eye on the door because she was out. And one time she got out. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know who was supposed to keep eye, but we had to call the police and everything. And she fought the police and locked him upside his head and everything. And she was like, I got to get to my neighbor. And it was really interesting. It was a really neat thing, but he walked with her, and I guess he got it. And he said, okay, well, let's walk. I will walk with you down the street until we find your neighbor's house. And of course, they never found the house. And so she said, well, I guess I'll just go back home. And so he walked her back home and told us what happened. But yeah, I mean, that was in the past, and she's in a whole different state, a whole new house. But that's what she remembered that she did on a regular basis. Yeah.
Wow. Mhm.
Yeah. When my parents went on vacation a couple years ago to Destin, and my dad rearranged the entire. We were in like a bed, a Airbnb. So their room, my room, the living area, the kitchen, all that other kind of stuff. And he was like, "Who moved the room? What room are you talking
Wow.
about?" There was a
Yeah.
room over there. I'm like, and for a hot second, I was like, wait a minute, what? And I was about to start trying to convince him that that was not the case. And I had to just remember, that's what he
Yeah.
thinks. I'm not going to argue about him. I'm like, okay, yep, they sure did. They moved it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then, of course, he goes on about his business and goes on to something different.
Yeah.
So, the key is just to not get caught up in the arguing, which is what my mother would do. She would just
Right.
get so frustrated with
Right.
trying to help him remember something, or, he would say certain things and she would get upset. I'm like, Ma, if you would just let it ride for like 15 minutes, 15
Mhm.
minutes from now, he's not even going to remember that conversation. And now your blood pressure's up because of what?
Right. Right.
Because you got to preserve your health too.
Yeah.
You've got to
that's
keep
true.
yourself, in a good space, knowing that you're the primary caregiver for him. So you can't allow him to get you, sideways every 20 minutes about
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Monica L. Smith, I think you're right. You were saying that before your grandmother had Alzheimer's, she was the sweetest, but you said, baby, let me tell you, she was mean. After Alzheimer's, she was mean. But then you said it might be that she was more frustrated. And, I never thought about it like that.
Mhm.
But sometimes, I noticed with my grandmother, she would have that, she would get this high pitched, what do you mean I can't go to my neighbor's house? And you're right. I feel like that was frustration. I mean, she was hollering and yelling at us, but it was purely, she was confused and she was frustrated that we wouldn't let her do what she normally does, and I thought the same thing too. I was like, gosh, she's really feisty, and me, and again, I'm in middle school, right? But you're right. I never thought about it. I believe it was more likely than anything, it was frustration. Frustration.
Yeah, because I sometimes think, because my dad, whenever we go out, he still wants to pay for everything, and that is the one place of control that he still has, because he no longer drives. He doesn't get to pick where he goes, when he goes. He has, a couple of friends that still kind of come by the house, and they know that he has Alzheimer's, but he talks to them like, nothing's going on, even though he's probably repeating things that he said over and over, but they understand. So the loss of control, the loss of not really feeling like you're being able to do what you used to do is extremely frustrating for them. And so for the little things, when he wants to pay, I'm like, Mom, just let him. Now, granted, we got to make sure he doesn't drop all his money on the floor, but just let him do the little thing that he feels like he still has control over, because he will remember how much money he had in his wallet, how much was in the bank. He remembers those types of things. That's the one thing that he still has. And so I'm like, let him have that.
Yes.
So I don't have to worry about it. And Daddy got it. He's like, what, you need money? No, Daddy, we got it. We've already paid for it. Now he's trying to pay for it again.
Right.
So it's like, no, we've already paid for it. Oh, okay. And then if he sees like anything that looks like a ticket, he'll ask the same thing again. So, just the little things.
Yeah.
Of trying to help him keep some level of dignity, as this progresses.
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful the way you're handling it, though, Kim.
It is
hard.
It's commendable.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Because he used to be the one. He used to be a truck driver, so that's partial. I'm partial truck driver, and he used to brag about, I have been all over the United States of America in an 18-wheeler truck. I know how to get anywhere. And I remember the day my mother really realized that something was different. They had dropped me off at the airport, and as many times as they have dropped me off at the airport, they, Hartsfield can be a little tricky, and they were changing some things around. And she ended up in Jonesboro from the airport because she got on the wrong expressway and just kept going and ended up going in the opposite direction. And I'm about to board the plane, and she calls me in a tizzy, like, your daddy has let me drive all the way. I'm on Tar Boulevard. And I'm like, why are you on Tar Boulevard?
Right. That's far away.
Like, this is why I installed the GPS on your phone, so that you can get out of the airport, get anywhere, because my dad used to be the one to get her anywhere in the car. And so now she has to depend on ways to get her anywhere if I'm not with her. So, just the challenge of accepting that, because he's looking out the window like, la, 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 like, where we going? I mean,
nice.
We're going to way up City Tour that day. Yeah. And she's like, we're trying to get back to the house. Do you not know how to get us there? He's like, well, where are we?
And she's like, yeah, that's what I want to know too. Right?
She's like, yeah, I want to know where we are too. And I don't have any clue.
Aww.
So she stopped off, and I'm like, Mom, just set the GPS. Just set the GPS. I've already programmed your house in there. Just hit home, and it will get you back to the house. So all of
I
this.
want to say hello to I'm not sure how you say your name,
Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice. Okay, I will jack up a name in a minute.
She's one of our friends from Uncle Diddy's stream. I met her in Uncle Diddy's.
Oh, that's where I saw the name before. Okay, I've seen the name, but I wasn't sure how to say it. Welcome to you, and I want to acknowledge your posts and appreciate you for sharing them about your grandmother and your family. Your grandmother has dementia currently, or had dementia rather. Your other grandmother, you said, had dementia, and you were sharing the story about her and your family and your best friend. And I wanted to acknowledge that, and then you also talked about during COVID, and you wanted to see her and talk to her, but they wouldn't. So I just want to say thank you for sharing that. And I think that last part of the post, if I'm scrolling, it keeps moving on me. It's moving, stop it. Let's see, you said during COVID, I wanted to see her and talk to her, but at the time they wouldn't let us see her. I was like, I knew she was about to pass because I had the urge to see her and talk to her. But she ended up catching COVID from her roommate. And I never got to tell her the things I wanted to tell her. And she passed in 2021 of January. Wow. So we are sorry to hear that. Also, again, thank you for sharing. It's hard. I say this all the time, even just typing it out, we're not talking, we're the ones talking on the screen, but you all aren't talking to us. And that's hard too. But even typing all of that and opening up about that means a lot to us and to those in the chat. So thank you for sharing that, and our condolences to your family and to you for your grandmother's passing.
Can I interject and apologize? I am so sorry. I just looked over and glanced and saw Kim, and I thought Kim was chatting with people in the chat, so I didn't put it up. And my apologies. And I'm like, I don't even see Kim's hands or anything moving, but we can do that on you're only seeing so much up. So please, Kim. Please.
She's actually in you know how you can link StreamYard to your own channel?
Yes.
So she's in my stream chatting in
cool.
here.
Okay.
Which I was like, why can't I find her? So I had to go back to my stream to even acknowledge her.
Please accept my apologies. I am so sorry. And I didn't mean to cut you off, Crazy Berrytown, but I just wanted to explain why I wasn't posting her comments. My apologies.
Yeah, no worries.
We're glad you are here. And thank you so much for sharing with us. And we're still figuring out all of this whole thing since you can't host on the channels anymore.
I know. We got to figure it out.
Got to try to figure out other ways to try to get the stream out there. So
I'm going to do that next time. Because you've mentioned that you did that before, Kim, and it asked you if you want to add your channel or something. So next time we stream, I'm going to try that and see how it works. Just to, amplify.
I happened upon it one of those times. So I literally have set it up twice, and it's two of me sitting there like, okay, I guess I'll just click on try and see what happens. So we're all trying to figure this out.
Yeah. I've seen a couple of things about people. Joanna G said her grandmother's in her early stages of Alzheimer's, she told many stories of her younger days. Then on the flip side of that, Jennifer's mother doesn't remember much, and she and you regret not being able to catch some of those stories. But here's what I would say. I'm no expert. I'm just me. But I would say catch what you can now. Create the memories now. How is she now? And then for those who are hearing stories of the past, capture those too some way. Because, again, sometimes I think, like I said before, sometimes the sadness comes from they do remember all that stuff from the past, but they don't remember who you are or what day it is or what they ate for breakfast this morning. But they're still talking and maybe sharing. My grandmother would go turn off her neighbor's lights. I clearly remember that. And so I would suggest finding a way to capture what you hear now, what you see now, what do you smell? What is your grandmother? What are your grandparents? What is your dad? What are they wearing? Just capture that in some way because they're here now, right? And you may, for whatever reason in the stages of Alzheimer's or the different parts of dementia, you may have missed some things, but you have her and your other family members, those of you who are listening now. So it may be not what you want in terms of some of those past stories and the good tea from back in the day, right? But you can capture something now that I think, personally, I believe this will be valuable and meaningful years from now, right? I was young anyway, so I don't know at age like 11, like 12 that I would want to know, or 13 or whatever. I don't know that I would want to know the stuff from my grandmother back in the day, but what I do remember are some of those, right before she kind of changed a bit. Like I said, I remember her flipping the pancakes, but I remember even in her Alzheimer's state and going through those stages, I remember a lot. And even though it's not the old school, the stories, it was still beautiful to me because I got to experience that with her and my family. We took care of her. We moved her in, and that was beautiful to me. And sure, she was mean, and she beat up a police officer, yeah, and almost tried to knock my mom's head off a couple times. But it's still meaningful and it has value. And so, embrace that is what I would say. I think again, they're here now, and embrace what you can right now.
Yes, I like that.
Nancy, welcome in, sweetie. Good to see you, and thank you. I'm trying to scroll back to what you said. I missed it. It keeps moving. But you said
she has early onset Alzheimer's.
There it is. I see it. Yeah. Well, can't believe I'm here for this conversation dealing with early onset dementia at 52, and it's horrible. Thank you for loving us, parents and grands, enough to care for us. So thank you. That is so transparent and so vulnerable to share that here today. And we appreciate you and are praying for you. And we love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just found out one of the ladies from my church, her brother works. So George, remember last Friday when I was at the church and I'm like, I'm waiting on George to get here and all of that. His sister actually has early onset dementia, and she's starting to forget like meetings, and she was supposed to be going out of town with a friend and forgot to pack, and they got there to pick her up, and she didn't even remember that she was supposed to be going somewhere. They had it written on the calendar. They had it written in different places. And I mean, she's such a powerful woman of God. And I'm like, oh, and my cousin and I talk about this all the time because, of course, we're first cousins, and it's like, okay, we don't want to be concerned about ourselves, but we might be concerned about ourselves. And of course, he's married, he's got kids, grandkids. I'm single, never married. And I'm like, oh, okay, Lord, you're just gonna have to figure this out. Cause we just don't even want to think about that right now. But yeah.
Right.
It's just a rough place and a rough space to be in. Because honestly, I have several friends whose parents have dementia or Alzheimer's, and we're all kind of dealing with this together. And just the challenges that it brings. And the anticipatory grief of what happens when they don't remember us anymore. And how lonely and frustrating and just heartbreaking that can be. Because, the person is with you, but the person that is no longer with you.
Exactly.
So you grieve that.
Yes.
Those memories, those conversations, that person. Because my dad was a very outgoing individual. He used to hunt, drive me crazy hunting, bringing home rabbits and deer and skinning stuff on the back porch. And I'm like, are you crazy? We live in the city. This is stuff people in the country do. We don't do this in Southwest Atlanta. What's really wrong with you? And, all of that stuff. And so now I give my whole left side for him to be able to act like that again.
Yeah.
So, it's just it's a little rough right here.
Yeah. Welcome in, Stacy Blessed One. DJ. Hello.
Must have been hiding out in everybody's stream. What is going on?
Hey, Buster. Good to see you.
In a minute. What's good, fam?
VIP, welcome in, Ms. VIP. Thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Yeah, and DJ Stacy Blessed One and DJ Onyx Heart, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We're so happy to see you. Thank you. Let us know how you're doing today. Let's see, Nancy. This chat, like y'all really chatting today. I love it.
Yes.
One thing that Nancy said earlier is that it's so this is from a perspective of someone who has early onset dementia, and kind of in almost a little bit in conjunction with what Monica said about the frustration. But Nancy mentioned that you mentioned you can't drive, or you're not driving anymore. And you live in an apartment by yourself. And Nancy was saying with this early onset dementia, she feels like it's isolating. And so that kind of struck a nerve with me as well, or struck a chord rather, not a nerve, in that sort of that same vein of we were talking about earlier, how we said our loved ones that had Alzheimer's, they were kind of mean. But Monica partnered it up with saying that maybe it was more so frustration than intentionally being mean. And I agree with that. And I can imagine that isolation can be not necessarily but it could be frustrating too, right? And being so young, now look, I'm 48, 52 is young to me. But right, but being so young, right, and not being able to be as independent as maybe you were, that can also be frustrating too. So I am just so in awe of all of you today, and sharing so much and so deeply today. I really really truly appreciate it.
Yes.
Buster, thank you for the lurk. Thanks for being here.
Did we get Miss VIP one? Did we acknowledge her and I missed it?
Yes, I said hello and welcome.
Okay, I'm deaf.
No, I was probably
not deaf at all.
No, you're not.
You multitasking. You got a lot going on behind the scenes. You on screen, you modding, you
Listen.
comments on the screen, you talking to people. You got a lot going on, man.
I know when you're the producer.
Yes, she's producing, she's editing on the fly, all kinds of stuff.
Welcome to you, DJ Rollum. How are you today? We're so glad
good
you're
afternoon.
here. And again, thank you for the vulnerability today, you guys. Like I'm really in awe. But DJ Rollum shared, I'm listening to you all, and my mom has vascular dementia, and I'm her current caregiver. It is truly rough to deal with on a daily basis. I applaud you all sharing this today. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing that. And shout out to you and love and care coming your way for being a caretaker.
Yes.
Dr. Davy Priest has talked a good bit about caretakers. If I'm not mistaken, a few months ago, or maybe not that long ago, she had a whole stream about caretakers and caring for the caretaker. And some people shared in the chat also that they are their parents or grandparent or other loved ones. There were some people that were taking care of spouses as well. And just how much it takes to be a caregiver. And so big shout out to you and love to you and to your mom. And we appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, because being a caregiver is no small feat. And, especially if you are trying to be a caregiver, you also have to work. You also have to, find space for yourself and all of those things. So it's always important for caregivers to try to find space where they can care for themselves. And I know that's difficult.
Yes.
Because that's easier said than done. Because who's going to take care of my loved one if I'm not here? Who can I trust to actually provide them with the care that I want them to have? And like, even with my mom, we've talked about trying to get some support because I work halfway across the country in town. And, she's at the house all day by herself. We can leave my dad alone for the most part, but we can't leave him alone like a long time. Like, I mean, she can go to the store, she can go, different places, but, we can't leave him for a long period of time.
Right.
Because we just don't know if, we've had to move keys and all of that. So he doesn't try to go out and decide he wants to try to drive.
Right.
We lock the basement so he doesn't fall going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because he's unstable. I mean, so, just trying to keep him safe and, try to go do stuff. It's difficult. And my mother doesn't trust anybody but me.
Right. That's what Mama just said. Who do I trust?
You trust. I mean, so she's like, I don't know. I mean, my cousin had to come over yesterday because my dad fell. And I was like, okay, so you gonna tell me this when? Well, it was nothing, but I just couldn't get him up off the floor. Okay. So again, when were you gonna tell me? Well, I called your cousin and he came over to help. So I don't know whether I want to be mad about it or if I want to feel some kind of way about it, but that's her thing lately. If something goes down, she tries to handle it before she calls me. And I'm like, I need you to call me first. before you start, trying to figure it out. But
Yeah. But at the same time, I think for her too, this is her, her taking care of your dad. This is her life and her act of love.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? And so I feel like she might at least try, until she has to call you or your cousin, right? But she'll try to do what she can, even though she probably should, like you said, call you first. But I think this is what she knows, and what her heart is telling her to do is to care for him. That's her husband. That's her boo, right? So, it's her way. And I think that she just wants to be able to do it on her own and express her love for him on her own in that way, even though she might have to make a call in a few minutes, whatever. But
yeah, I'm not mad now, but last night.
Yeah, I understand. I would feel the same way too. I would. Who am I to talk? I'm the outsider looking in, right? Because I would be the same way. So, yeah, I totally.
I get it, because usually with everything else, I'm like, Ma, you're smart, you're kind, you're important. You can figure some of this stuff out when it comes to like getting from point A to point B. So then when she does try to figure it out and doesn't call me, I'm like, lady,
Right. Call me for the
big I need you to call me when it's stuff like that going on, though. Right. That is not the time for you to try to figure it out on your own. We can figure this out together. Make up
your mind. Do you
like
want
me getting in my car, coming to your house, and getting Daddy up off the floor? I'm like, what are you talking about? He was on the floor for how long? Well, it wasn't that long. Okay,
but still, he was on the floor.
Right. Okay, calm down.
Oh my gosh, DJ Rollum. So DJ Rollum, congratulations, I guess, too, right? Because you just got married back in April.
Yes.
So you're newlywed and caring for your mom. So shout out to you and congrats to you and your wife.
Yes.
So yeah, you're still newlywed. So it's just April.
Yes.
Nancy, and shout out to your beautiful 28, 29-year-old daughters who you say have careers, are great mothers. One is a wife. And you said that you would not be here today without them. So shout out to them and your loved ones for caring for you and loving you, in the midst of them having busy lives as well. But, that's what we do. When you have family, you love your family, you just make it work, and you just got to do what you got to do. So love to them and shout out to them for their care. Yeah. Just catching up. Oh, your wife said we can hold off on our honeymoon because of my mom and hers. My wife is a caregiver. So you're both in the same boat. Wow. Big love to you both. I know, I honestly, I don't say it. I can't know. I don't know. But I will say, sending prayers to both of you, for your healing yourselves, just restoration, and working, being newlyweds and taking care of your mothers. I'm sure that's a lot. And putting sort of the newness, and the honeymoon, putting that sort of, on a back burner for a little bit to give love. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And shout out to STL, who is my daughter's godmother and has her covered all the way from Texas. Caregivers need a covering. Amen.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what Dr. Dady Priest, I was listening into that. I didn't have a whole bunch to offer. And then and sometimes it comes up too in other conversations. There was something just this week or last week she was talking about, and caregivers came up again. And it's sort of along those lines that caregivers need an outlet, and they also need covering, and they need care too. So shout out to you, STL.
Yes.
Bless you.
Yes. Yeah. And also keeping caregivers lifted in prayer too, and especially for the newlyweds, because that's rough. Because I have a friend who they have been married probably 10 years now, but her husband's sister passed away unexpectedly, who was the caregiver to his mother in another state, and they've had to move his mother in with them. And that has just changed the whole trajectory of their lifestyle, their marriage, etc. And it's it was not going well here recently. So, it's just trying to find their bearings, because she's having to, it's his mother, but she's doing the most of the, making sure she's eating, make sure she's got to cook 3 times a day now. She's got to do things that she was not doing before. And she has a full-time job. So it's been a little rough there of them making an adjustment. So she's been asking prayers for their actual marriage.
Wow.
So, she's caregiving to her mother-in-law. So, yeah.
Wow.
So let's just
mad love to them.
Caregivers all around.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we are at our time. We're at our time. Does anyone have anything else to share? I know this went by fast, didn't it?
Yeah.
But it's been great. Like I'm just so in awe of you all and your courage. Honestly, it may not seem like a big deal, but we know of people in our lives. We know of possibly some Twitch fam who are just maybe lurking, or maybe not here today, but they just can't talk about it, right? They can't share, even in I always joke a lot about people and their keyboard courage, especially like cyber bullies. They get on their keyboards and talk junk and trash stuff or whatever. But something like this, though, even just typing behind a screen is tough for some people. It's tough to verbalize your feelings, your fears. It's just hard. And so for you all to share about your lives, your victories, your prayers answered, even the passing of your loved ones, what you're going through, whatever you've shared today, it took courage. And I am in awe of all of you, and truly, truly, I appreciate it so much. Yeah. We love you too, Only One Mrs. Cox.
Absolutely.
Let's see, Buster, my mom is 3 hours away and trying to get her to move here with me, and she is fighting it. She's 85 and needs a caregiver. And that's hard too. Just sometimes, getting into that position of caring for a loved one when they're just kind of fighting it. And there's not much you can do, Buster, right? When you're 3 hours away, you want her closer.
Yeah. Right.
And she's just not going for it. That's hard too. And that's frustrating as well, because it's your mom. You want to take care of her. You want her to be well, and you need her closer. So we'll be praying for movement in that situation, so that you can take care of her. I know you'd be a good caregiver for your mom. So prayers to you as well.
Yes.
The glasses, STL's glasses. She always has the best glasses on, right?
Yes, she does.
You guys are funny.
Oh my goodness. And Nancy, well, thank you too. We appreciate you. Absolutely. The safety of this space, it means a lot. Absolutely. And so see, again, you've never shared this outside of your immediate circle. And so thank you for for trusting us in this space with your hearts. And I can't say enough. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be in Discord. I'll be moving around a little bit. I'm getting ready to get Captain Boots, but I'll hop in Discord. So if you all want to join us after to give voice to your stories and to say hello or whatever you like, join us in Discord. Lady G, what's going on? Welcome in, beautiful.
Hey, Lady G.
Today. Thank you for being here. We're wrapping up. Actually, we've had a really great conversation. It's kind of turned into talking a good bit of caregivers and family members with dementia and Alzheimer's, and just how that is caring for them and loving someone through their journeys. It's been a beautiful discussion. So thank you all so much. I will end as I always do and tell you, implore you to find the joy. You all are worth it. You deserve it. And in a sidebar, especially for you caregivers, right? Because you are working, you have families, new wives, other things going on, and you're giving, taking care of your loved ones. And so sometimes we put ourselves back on the back burner. So you jump out there and you find yourself some joy, because you're worth it and you deserve it. Thank you all for being here. Kim?
Yes, thank you so much for your transparency and sharing today. And also just a reminder, we have what's called the Win Phone out in the Discord, STL's Discord. it's a place where you can actually leave a note or a message for your loved one. But just like, we put in the chat and we're able to share things for the first time, I can see people actually putting things there as well, sharing things that they may not want to say out loud, but just to give voice to. And it's, of course, a safe space to put anything, how you're feeling, sending a note to your loved one. I may write a note to my dad, the dad I remember out there, um, as a way to just really kind of process through just the emotion around who he is now versus, where he was before. So even though he's still with us, I give God praise for his life every day. But
Absolutely.
as my mother would say, he's not the same man that I married. So he's not the daddy that I'll remember, but he's who he is, and he's still here, and I'm grateful for that. So join us in the Discord and just give yourself some grace, because as with grief, it's a process, and everyone's grief is different, whether it's anticipatory or you're actually physically grieving the loss of a loved one. Just know that you are not alone and that we are here for you. So have a great week, and we'll see you soon, this time next week. All right.